Welcome to another episode of Question It, where a question is posed and we share our perspectives. I'm Kevin Strauss, the host of Question It and founder of Uchi, a simple social app built around one belief that everything feels possible when you know someone has your back every day. Today's guest is Jodi Slein. I met Jodi not too long ago, actually, through LinkedIn. We just had like a common interest on a thread, somebody else's post, or maybe I happen to see your post, or you happen to see mine. I don't even know, but we connected and found that we really are kind of working toward the same kind of mission, like professionally, personally, and so on. So I wanted to have Jodi on. So Jodi, please introduce yourself.
Well, thanks for having me, Kevin. So, like Kevin said, I'm Jodi Slein, and I'm a parent coach. And I became one because I had a son who had a lot of trauma. So I'm trauma informed, and I help families create a calmer, more connected, and peaceful home. So we really connected over that connection piece.
Yeah, and right when you said calmer,
hmm
I took a breath and I just like sort of lowered my intensity
hmm
just from hearing that word, just from hearing you
Yeah.
say that word, I felt calmer. So
Oh,
thanks
that's
for
good.
that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so before we started recording, Jodi picked a random number from my massive list of questions. And the question that we landed on, which Jodi will answer first, is tell me about a time when you followed your instinct, even though it didn't make sense at the time, or maybe others didn't agree with it at the
Mhm.
time.
Okay. Well, I know exactly what I want to talk about. So my middle son, I have three sons, and my middle son, when he was in high school, about 16, 17 years old, um, was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And he was very sick. And he was an athlete wanting to play college sports. And so this is right when he was being recruited. And the Crohn's disease was very bad, very, very debilitating. He was very sick. And so we were just at a loss. He was, it was such an important time for him and his goals. But the doctors wanted to put him on, really heavy medications like biologics. And I knew what that was like because I was on a biologic, autoimmune disease. I have psoriatic arthritis. So I was on Remicade infusions and methotrexate, and it was really debilitating. Those drugs were very powerful and very difficult. But I had had a friend whose son had Crohn's, and they worked with an integrative person. And so I thought, okay, this is what we want to do. I didn't want to put my son on those harsh drugs, but I wanted to help him. And I have a brother who's a doctor who thought I was making a huge mistake. Other people, and we just wanted to get him better. So I was very tempted to just start him on those drugs, and just to start to, take care of some of his symptoms. But I did go with my instincts. I went with my gut and said, okay, we're not going to do that. Right away, we got in with this integrative person, and right away, we really had to like change his diet immediately, really restrictive diet. And that was so hard because I had other kids too. So I, had to change all of our eating plan. I remember spending hours in the grocery store reading everything, and so we use that diet that's it's called SCD diet, simple carbohydrate diet. And a lot of Crohn's patients use it. So that's really what we started in the beginning. No gluten, no sugar, no preservatives, just so restrictive. Cheese, had to be aged 3 months or more. So the diet was extremely restrictive. So I spent hours and hours, looking into this and working on it because every morning, and then we started with the integrative person. Every morning I had to make him this smoothie, and it looked terrible, smelled terrible, and I give him so much credit for drinking it, but it had like these different seaweeds in it, like spirulina, and I can't even remember the names of the other ones, but it were all anti-inflammatory things, natural anti-inflammatories. And it had like banana and mango. That was the good part. But every morning I would get up and make that for him, and he would drink it, and I give him credit. And then we right away changed his diet, just so restrictive. And so then we worked with the integrative, and what he redid is really redid his whole gut biome, just redid the whole biome. And it took a couple years. So went through things like viral things, fungal things. Once one thing would be killed off, another would show up. We did parasite medicines. because everybody has parasites, but sometimes they really affect people more than others. So we redid his whole biome, and it took a long time. And the diet was so restrictive in the beginning, and it was miserable. And he was miserable. I remember him calling me saying, "I'm done, Mom. Just put me on the medicine. I'm done." And I thought, no, we're not, I understand. You're so upset. I know it's so hard. And I did it with him because I thought if I'm going to make my son do this, I'm going to do it with him. I'm not going to have something he can't have because it's right. It's not right. And it helped me too, because I did the same program. Well, it was different. Our programs were different, of course, because individually, he worked with us individually, and I got off all those medications too. So by doing this for my son and following my gut, I was able to get off all those medications and improve my health also. But it was really hard, really restrictive, and he was upset all the time at me. Oh, I can't, I'm done. I'm done doing this, Mom. But uh, I would say, please, I understand you're upset. We'll talk about it later. I would always let him calm down. And then we talk about it later and say, but look at what this is doing. Look at what we can do. And then the diet got less and less restrictive, where we could add in things and add in, like now we use like an in-corn flour, which is ancient wheat, not processed, no preservatives, but it's like real flour. So we can eat like real food. It doesn't seem like we're eating something that's not, it's so restrictive. So I really had to go with my gut because a lot of people were saying that's crazy, especially my brother who's in the medical field, and also even his doctor, his pediatric gastrologist was like, what are you talking about? Because I would have to go through her to get blood tests and all these weird blood tests and certain tests done. Some I would send away to labs somewhere else because the person we worked with wasn't in our state. We would do it by Zoom, and he would get all the testing and then say, okay, now this is what the next step. And then we do these blood tests or stool tests, and then we'd say, okay, now we're going to do this. And so I had to fight all the time with his doctor. She said, why, what does this have to do with Crohn's, this blood test? And I said, trust me, it does. And I'd have to say, just give me the test, just order the test for me. You have nothing to lose. I mean, I had to really fight with her. It was crazy. But I said, we're paying for it. I just need you to order it. It's not like you're prescribing anything. And she was really like hesitant and like couldn't believe. She also said, this doesn't work. Diet's not going to take care of it, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, we're not just doing diet. It was so incredibly frustrating that I had to continuously talk about fighting for your child. I had to continuously fight and say, just please, we need this, we need that. And anyway, as we got through it in the couple years, and he was doing well, his Crohn's is like gone. I mean, he doesn't have any symptoms, any signs. And like your inflammation level anywhere in your digestive system is called your calprotectin. And so we had that when we first started, he was at over 1,300. Now 50 and below is normal. And then we got to like 100 and something. And she said, I'm fine with that. I said, oh, I'm not fine with that. We're going to get it all the way down. Well, we got it down to 32, well below 50. And so she was like amazed. And I mean, I was like, I was on it. I would stay up late at night just checking what can I cook for him? What can I make? What do I need to do? I was so on top of it, and so she was really amazed. And finally she said, okay, what's the name of this person you're working with? And I'd like his name. And I'd like, but we were so consistent. And I was because my son couldn't have done this. There's no way he would have done it on his own. There's no way he would have done it unless I put the hammer down in a sense, like we're doing this. This is what we're doing, but it took a lot of work. But I just knew it was the right thing to do in my gut. And we did it. And really he's cured of Crohn's, which they say you can't do. But otherwise he would have been on a lifetime of medications. And I don't think and then he ended up actually playing a Division I lacrosse in college. He made his goals. He was healthy. And at college he didn't eat well. I know it 100% that he didn't. But, in the summers when he was home, but he's fine. And sometimes we have to do a little bit of a cleanup with his gut, but nothing nowhere near those numbers and nowhere near full-blown Crohn's at all. And same with me. I went against, everything and I'm off all those medications and doing pretty well. But still, I'm still in the process of because I was on those medications for so long and other things going on. But yeah, it's amazing. So that's my story of going with my gut. That's probably the strongest one I have. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I mean, thank you for sharing that. What a journey, and such a hard journey, and like relentless journey. And I was trying to think of the word, you just, even as you began, about how hard it was for your son day after day, and you're in this for the long haul.
Right.
Like, how do you stick it out, for that long,
Hmm.
because again, curing with food, I mean, Hippocrates, let food be thy medicine, let medicine be
Yeah.
thy food. You know, it's food is not nearly as powerful as a pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
Um, so it takes longer, to
Hmm.
have its effect, but can have its, ultimate effect. And, I've watched enough videos or whatever, even from doctors, medical
Hmm.
doctors, saying like, um, oh God, it just the thought goes out of my head that, oh yeah, one I watched recently, like last week, a doctor talking about how like 80 some percent of all the illnesses can be cured with an actual decent diet,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
Um, and I love that you were sharing about the, parasites and bacteria and viruses and the whole gut biome and
Yeah.
everything. There's so much going on that our body, our immune system just deals with.
Right.
But imagine even just inflammation.
Yes.
Imagine if we didn't have that, how much easier our body would have a
Hmm.
time of it day to day if it didn't have to deal with all that other stuff. It's
Right.
amazing how well we do and deal with all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Imagine if we didn't have to,
Yeah.
then lives get, even better and all.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, he
There's,
would be on a protocol, like an herbal protocol, like, with
mhm,
pills he'd have to take in the morning and at night. And I'd have to make sure
okay.
he'd take them. And then it would change as things died off, right? And then parasite medicines, those were prescription, like we all went. And then we had our whole family go on them because
Everybody,
your whole family can pass it on, right? Even our
right?
pets. So we had,
Hmm.
yeah. So, but we both had positive signs of parasites. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
crazy.
Wow. And then the fighting with the doctor. And I've
Yeah.
heard this so many times that, the doc, oh, that one. I've heard countless times how somebody, has cancer, and they ask the doctor, oh, well, should I change my diet? What should I do? And even today in
Mm.
2026, so many or most doctors will say, oh, diet has nothing to do with
Right.
it. And
Right.
that could not be more wrong.
Yeah. I
Not
don't think
saying
they
that
learn
diet's
that.
gonna just cure your cancer, I'm not
Right.
saying that,
Right.
and I'm not saying that we shouldn't use pharmaceuticals, because
Right.
pharmaceuticals can be absolutely amazing. I
Mhm.
mean, absolutely amazing. You
Right.
get a bacterial infection, and boom, you're feeling better within 24 hours of taking
Right.
an antibiotic, and in
Yeah.
7 days, that thing is completely out of your system. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. But for these chronic
Mhm.
issues like Crohn's or fibromyalgia and the autoimmune type
Yeah.
issues. I guess fibromyalgia might be one of those. But anyway,
Yeah, I
there's
think it
so
is.
many chronic disease, diabetes, heart disease.
Mhm.
These are all chronic conditions that have been developing
Right.
usually for decades in a person. That
Yeah.
diet can be so powerful. It's not the end all cure all everything, but
Mhm.
such a powerful um, preventative and curative type approach. And wow, but
Yeah.
to trust yourself,
Yeah.
as a mom, as a caring person, and to the institution of medicine
Right.
is that is not an easy institution to go
Mm.
against,
No.
but you had to be the advocate for your son's life.
Right. Yeah. And so it was hard, but it was so worth it. Yeah. And they think like, I mean, so much has been written now about autoimmune diseases based on your gut biome, coming from the gut. And it's
Mhm.
so interesting. And plus, yeah, the food we eat and how processed food is. And just
Yeah.
like, so now I like change from no processed food. I don't even buy grated cheese. I grate it myself because of what they add into it. Right. And I don't even, I mean, everything, make everything, nothing processed because, and so that was hard. Yeah. But it was worth it.
Really
Yeah.
hard. I mean, you've got to have some real endurance to
Yeah.
stick with all of that. I mean, it never stops. I mean, is there a good book or resource,
Hmm.
or do you need to write a book,
Yeah, I don't
you
know.
know,
Well, there are some really good books, like resources, like there's an autoimmune diet book that's really good. It had really good things in it. There's Danielle Walker. She's had a lot of, gut issues, and she's written some cookbooks that are really healthy, like
mm,
3 or 4, even on desserts, things like that. So yeah, there's
mhm,
quite a few books out there now, I think,
okay.
more integrative type. Yeah, so that's good.
That is good.
Yeah,
That
and
is
I
good.
think people share a lot. Like there's groups you can share things and share,
Yeah.
recipes, share
But still,
ideas.
there's so much noise too. It's like hard
Yeah,
to know what's real and what's not,
right.
so that I'm not saying don't get in the
And
group.
learning your,
I think groups is
yeah, and you have
great.
to kind of learn it. You know what I mean? Like in the beginning, like what do I buy? Even at the store, right? I have to buy
You had to
cheese, only
become an
certain ones that
expert.
are aged. Yeah, and you just have to learn. And once you learn and get the things down, then it's easier. But in the beginning, it was hours, of time.
Yeah, and
But
really understanding, well, how does that work? And even the good
yeah,
stuff, like even
right.
some pure, whatever food,
Mm-hmm.
even how does that work with this particular condition or this goal, the parasite or whatever we're trying
Yeah,
to address, or what better bacteria are we trying to improve in our gut? So then what do I need to really be eating for that?
right.
Like there's so much,
Yeah.
If, so lately in the last just 2 weeks, I've started, somehow they pop up in my YouTube feed, and catch my attention. But like I'll watch a video, and it's like an AI type done video for the
Mhm.
animation part, but it's a week in the life of an ancient Roman, and
Oh,
not like the Caesar or the senators, like just a regular person on the
mm-hmm.
street, and what they're eating and how they're going to the bathroom and how they're bathing and what was important in that area and stuff.
Yeah.
And or like what does a typical Roman soldier eat in a day? And it's only like 7 things,
Wow.
like there's not
Yeah.
much. And the grain, there's a lot of,
Hmm.
especially for the poorer people, which is most everyone, it's much more of the grains type
Yeah.
diet. It's not the meat and fish, because that's expensive and it costs
Right.
more and no one's got the money. So you're only eating
Right.
that like 3 times a week, maybe, if you're lucky or
Yeah.
whatever. But how
Right.
the grain and how they make it, it's got like 3 ingredients or whatever. But
Yeah.
um, it's actually really good for you, and it's not spiking your insulin,
Yeah.
because it's not a real sugary, carbohydrate. It's just fascinating and why it's good for you. And then there was something about like the olive oil part of it with all the
Mm.
polyphenols in olive oil. And I'm like, wait a minute, I know about polyphenol. Well, the funny thing
Yeah.
is, and so I had to do a little search on this with like, AI and whatnot, but, list
Right.
the top 10 foods with the highest polyphenol, concentration.
Yeah.
And of the top 10, um, the extra virgin olive oil was like number 10, you
Wow.
know, and it's only like 150 units per, tablespoon or something. Well,
Hmm.
if you eat ground clove,
Okay.
ground clove has 1,000 times more polyphenols
Wow.
per
Wow.
like little serving size than
Yeah.
olive oil.
Wow.
And I've been doing the ground clove thing I put it in little capsules of my
Oh,
own,
yeah.
the
Okay.
I swallow it because clove is
Yeah.
very strong.
Yes, it's
You
very
put just
strong.
a little bit in like a smoothie, you're tasting it,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like when you put green pepper on a pizza, that's like all you taste on a pizza.
Yes, exactly. Clove is
The
very
ground,
powerful. Yeah, it's very strong.
right?
Because when you put it in, when you bake with it, like you put clove and like pumpkin pie and spice.
Yes,
Yes, you can taste it, smell it easy.
very strong. So I just swallow the capsule and I get
Good
like
idea.
a
Yeah.
lot. And I actually think it does. I think I do notice a difference.
That's good.
And I happen to eat, I take a lot of cacao powder, just
Uh-huh.
plain organic, nothing but ground cacao
Yeah.
powder. And that is also extremely high in polyphenols.
Good.
And then cinnamon, but you got to get the right cinnamon.
Yeah.
But those are like, and I was like, oh, I eat these every day, So this is
Yeah. That's
great for your
awesome.
antioxidants, but
Yeah,
it's that kind of thing that, if we're not including, and you're not going to hear a doctor say, "Oh, you should probably eat more ground clove,"
right, right.
you know.
Yeah. Or use olive oil, only olive. Yeah, that's all I use is olive
Right.
oil. Yeah. Or avocado. Yeah.
Or
It's a good
avocado
too.
oil and
Yeah.
coconut oil. Those are like the
Yeah.
three
Yes.
that I
Yeah,
focus
that's
on.
what I use.
But the
Yeah.
whole gut biome and
So
wow.
interesting.
And so like how hard was that for your son to, I mean, and scary
Yeah.
too.
It was hard. I mean, he just did pretty much what I said. Just eat this, do the. And when we
He was a
go somewhere,
teenager.
I'd send food with him. Yeah, yeah. He was a teenager, but he was so sick. I don't even know, like we'd go to tournaments in the summer before he got diagnosed, and he was so sick he'd have to run off the field all the time. But he still played well. I don't know how he did it. I mean, even the doctor with his amount of inflammation, and his was mainly concentrated in his upper ileum, so between his small and large intestine. So he wasn't gaining weight. He kept losing weight. He wasn't gaining weight, and it was so inflamed and so much pain. She said, "How can you not be in pain all the time?" He just was really, I don't know, either he has a really high pain tolerance or he just, I don't know,
Or that's
just,
all he knew, so
that's
he
all he
doesn't
knew.
know
Yeah,
any
yeah,
otherwise.
exactly. So he
But and
was
you were
really,
seeing improvements
hmm
on a even just small, but
right,
noticeable enough.
right. Yeah, noticeable right away because the amount of times that he would have to use the bathroom. I mean, he was even in his, it was bad in his sleep even. So,
Okay.
so that improved greatly, right? I mean, started to improve right away, that part of it. And then as
Wow.
we worked on the inflammation, yeah, because he was
So
very
do we
uncomfortable.
know the cause, like the root cause of Crohn's
Well, it's
disease?
autoimmune disease. I have autoimmune disease. I think autoimmune is hereditary. So I think, but his mine showed up in psoriatic arthritis. My mom had autoimmune. She had psoriasis on her skin. Connor got Crohn's. So I
Mm,
think it's just the way it manifests in individuals' bodies, the autoimmune.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Well, and as we keep learning more and more, and the stuff that
Right.
I've dug into, is that most any disease it's not genetic. It's only
Yeah.
like 10% genetic. And when you
Yeah.
look at all the different cancers, when you boil it all down,
Mhm.
basically it's like 10% genetic.
Wow. So
So it's
interesting.
really environmental.
Yeah.
But what we're missing time and again, and this is going to be such a theme on this podcast, is that the environment is not just the temperature and humidity
Right.
and amount of sunlight. It's how much emotional trauma. Well, you know
Right.
about this,
Right.
how much emotional trauma. And by emotional trauma, I'm not talking about like you're a stupid idiot, although that is
Right.
emotional trauma.
Yeah.
It's the constant shame and judgment and
Mhm.
disapproval and neglect,
Mhm.
not being heard and being talked
Right.
over constantly. Every time you try to share something, getting talked over by your parent, that's
Mhm.
emotional trauma that
Yeah.
happens day after, and we do it to our little babies,
Mhm.
so
Yeah. So true.
that's, and then however it manifests in the body,
Mhm.
you know whatever gene does then get
Yeah.
triggered to get whatever disease, the person. Yeah. So
Yeah.
wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I mean,
Sure.
I learned a lot. I'd like to talk the whole thing about
Yeah.
that. I mean,
So
that's just,
interesting. Yeah. But
yeah.
we've
And
learned a
then how
lot
you
too.
and your family and your husband, how you all
Yeah.
dealt with that. That's
Yeah.
a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
But I guess it's life or death kind of.
Right, yes, and I wanted him to have the best outcome, I'd do anything. But then by doing that for him, I did it for myself also. You know what I mean? So you do it for your kids before you do it for yourself, but then
Yeah.
I also did the
S-
same thing because for
And
my,
and that's almost like an instinct too. Like
yeah,
my instinct to help my child and go
mhm,
against what the doctors are saying,
yeah,
um, but then helping yourself like it was an instinct to do it with him
right,
in a similar way,
yeah,
and then how much healing you get. Like, oh wow, so his
yeah,
challenge ended up helping me when we all solved it together.
yeah, yeah,
That's so
oh,
cool.
yeah,
Wow. Well, thank you. I
sure,
mean, that is
sure.
so interesting. Wow. I'm just like, I don't even want to share my story, not just
Your
just
story's
because that was
great.
so much fun hearing yours,
Yeah,
but
it's
that's
interesting.
part of the process. is
Yeah.
that I will, and I have to like find the question again. Okay, so we'll take my turn now.
Okay.
You get to listen to me.
Great.
So tell me about a time when you followed your instinct, even though it didn't make sense at the time, or that someone didn't agree with. Like for you, the doctors didn't agree,
Mhm.
or for me, it's going to be my father didn't agree. Um, so I followed my instinct. Well, this time anyway. Um, so after I graduated from college, which was in 1991, the job market was not good. Although, you know what? It just never seems like the job market is good for new grads, no matter when it is. But
Yeah.
anyway, um, and I wasn't getting anywhere with job applications or anything as a mechanical engineer, as a BS in mechanical engineering. I wasn't getting anywhere, like interviews or anything. And luckily, before graduating, I took the GREs, um,
Mhm.
and I had applied to a few grad schools just in case, just as another option or an outlet or just an idea. And back then, I was thinking of a graduate degree in biomedical engineering.
Mhm.
So back when I was in school, 87 to 91, there were only a couple of biomedical engineering undergrad programs, and they were at like schools that I would never be able to get into, like Duke or something.
Mhm.
Um, so that was an option. But as grad school, I was like, oh, well, maybe I can really specialize now into the medical area because I like the human body and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I applied to 3 biomedical engineering programs for a master's and 1 mechanical engineering. Well, and I talked to my advisor. This is a way longer story than it needs to be now, but I talked to my advisor in college, and he's like, yeah, don't even bother applying to grad school. You're never going to get in. Your GPA is too low. Forget it. Thanks for the support.
Yes.
Um, Granted, my GPA was low, and I'll share it freely. My undergrad GPA was 2.6. Okay. In my major is 2.7, but who cares? So a 2.6. So people hear that even today, and you think, wow, you didn't even get a 3.0 in college. You're an idiot. Like you're stupid. That's what we think. I worked my tail off in undergrad. It was hard as heck. And let me tell you, at NC State, that's where I went to school,
Mhm.
they don't curve, or at least back then, there was never a curve. One time on a test, I got a 17% out of 100.
Mhm.
It was below the average for the class, but I was 17%, and that was a total failing, grade for that test. Luckily, I ended up getting a B in that class, but still, and that was like one of the highest grades in the class, actually. But anyway, that's beside the point. So grad school, I wasn't getting the job thing. I got into 3 out of 4 programs that I applied to. So screw you, advisor. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Um, and and one of them was a biomedical, well, actually a couple were biomedical engineering programs. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go to grad school. Like I'll do that. The job market's not working out for me. I'll go to grad school. Well, my dad was like, no way. You
Mhm.
got a good degree as an engineer, you get a job, and that's what you do. And my mom like kind of was in support of that. I get where they're coming from. You go to school for 4 years, you get a degree, get a job. But I'm like, no, I really think grad school is the way for me. I think this is going to be good. So that's what I'm going to do. And boy, did I have to like, I don't know how I was like, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And also why it's difficult is because my parents paid for my grad school
Mhm.
education. It's not like I took out a loan or
Mhm.
anything. So even though so I'll give my dad credit for this, or my parents
Mhm.
credit for this, is that even though they totally opposed what I was doing, they still supported me,
Right.
which is pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
so many people don't even get any help financially from family, or
Mhm.
what they have to take loans out. And I'm so fortunate, lucky, and grateful. I didn't have to do that. It's very privileged, lucky, So I totally went against, what my dad wanted. He still supported me. I went to grad school. I got that degree in 4 semesters, so it included summer school, but 4 semesters. And then I learned a lot from the first go around of looking for a job, and I applied that to the second time, and I got a job, within a couple of months of graduating from grad school, and it ended up being just an amazing, perfect job designing total hip replacements, orthopedic implants, which is kind of like the dream job for me as a biomedical engineer. And it's even to this day, it still opens doors that, oh, you're a biomedical engineer? Like, you must be so smart. Well, look, do you know my undergrad GPA? And what I'll say about that, just to save face a little bit, is my own pride here. But even seeing kids come out of school today with their 3.8, 3.9, 4.0 GPA, you give them a blank piece of paper with a problem, all they give you is a blank stare. They don't even know. I'm generalizing, but
No,
they're
I get
lost.
it.
They're lost. And they have like the 4.0s, and I had a 2.6, So my point of that, other than my own pride, my point of that, ego, is grades don't always matter,
Right.
And you don't have, and that actually came up in a previous podcast episode, a recent one, about me, that it's not just about the grades and test scores,
Yeah.
even with what you
I
experience.
100% agree. Well, I agree, because you need to be a fully well-rounded person. People can be really book smart and have a 4.0, and they can't talk to people. They don't know how to relate. They don't know how to apply things. But, I even look at my middle son, who has an accounting degree, and he's not that personality, does not fit the profile whatsoever. And he did it and was an athlete, and it's amazing. As I say, it's a miracle. But, but they love him at the first, he got a job right away because he's so outgoing. He just adds a lot of energy, and
Definitely not the typical accountant profile stereotype.
no, and I look at all my kids, and they, it's just, it's just being able to relate to people, to communicate. That's such a great skill that is so much better than your grade point. I don't think a grade point is always a judgment of how smart you
Oh
are
my
at
God,
all.
it's so not. And this came up in my book, and it comes up a lot, that even though my undergrad GPA is low, and my grad GPA was like a 3.6, whatever. But as an engineer, one of the things they say about engineering is you learn to be a problem solver. I didn't learn to be a problem solver in any of my 6 years of higher education. I learned to be a problem solver from my dad.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I was my dad's apprentice for the first 18 years of my life. So I had an 18-year apprenticeship on how to solve woodworking, furniture building, car fixing, electrical, plumbing, gardening, whatever, everything. That's how I learned to solve problems and come up with ideas and solutions that no one else is seeing. I didn't learn that in a book.
No.
And I've been through the school. I learned it from my dad because he did all of that. I just got chills thinking about it again.
Yeah, that's great. That's so true.
It's the apprenticeship. We learn from modeling,
Yeah. That's how we learn to become a parent and everything. And yeah, because we absorb all that. I mean, my dad could do anything too. He grew up on a farm. He was in World War II. He was a medic. He could do anything and fix things. And I paid attention and watched, and, and
and you
that's how
became
you
the
learn.
problem solver.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And the other thing you said about, we learn by the modeling, and we learn from our parents. We also learn the not so good and unhealthy things from our parents and so on too.
Right.
And the other thing about it too that I just can't get out of my head is that, school is not the formal education is not the only place to look at how much you learned about diet, about food,
Right.
not from formal education.
Right.
That is massive. You have a massive knowledge base,
Yeah.
not from school. And my example I always say is, I don't know a single person or know of a single person on the planet that learned their first language in school.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So true.
They learned their first language before they even started school.
Yeah.
So I love school. I love education. I love learning. I
Yeah.
love higher ed. I love formal education. I love
Mhm.
all of it, but we need to do a far better job
Right.
than what we're doing or what we've ever done. But
Mhm.
anyway, that's a whole nother
I
topic.
think that, and that brings me back to the first conversation we had when we first met, talking about what I do now being a parent coach, and based on, all the trauma that my son had, and then really having to learn because nobody educated us on kids who were in institutions and the trauma they would have or how that would come out and how their brain wired. Nothing, and even psychology, studying a psychology degree, they're not teaching the neuroscience. They're not, and I had to study on my own and learn all that. But then I got certified later on, which was stuff that we already did, but living through that was my education. I mean, I did
Yeah,
get an education beyond, but when you live through an experience and you go through something, that gives you so much more insight to everything and understanding that
yeah.
books can't tell you,
Books or learning in the classroom can't.
right.
And just for quick reference, um, share if you could a little bit about that trauma. Where did that trauma come from
Okay.
for that child?
So he was in an orphanage the first 2 years of his life. So he had severe neglect,
There you
no
go.
interaction, nothing. And that severe neglect, he didn't have a memory, but his brain wired differently. And his body remembered it. So things came out during the second biggest growth of his brain during puberty. And that's when everything was just like, okay, what's going on here? What happened to my son? Where's all this coming
Uh,
from? The rejection, the pushing away, the abandonment, and the
so it like
distrust.
resurfaced during
Hmm.
puberty. And
Hmm.
where did you adopt him?
From Romania.
From Romania. Okay.
Oh, and
He
yeah, and
was
those
in an
orphanages.
orphanage for 2 years,
Hmm.
and then you adopted him,
Yes.
and then you had to deal with all of that.
Right. And there were signs when he was younger, but we had no education. Like nobody educated us on what to look for, like sensory integration issues, and being a teacher, I recognize that. And we got
No,
occupational.
that's just kids being kids. That's
Yeah.
just boys being
Yeah.
boys. No,
Yeah.
it's not.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's
And
not.
like little signs like of reactive attachment, disorder and things like that, and but we didn't know. And we didn't, you know what I mean? So we just put it, okay, well, but he was always such a good kid, very smart, and it's amazing. And so let me just tell you a little story. So here's my son who was afraid of loud noises, afraid of balloons. So every child I think I've had a crisis with. My youngest we're going pretty good. If you haven't had the middle one had Crohn's, my good trauma, but he was afraid of loud noises, afraid of balloons, and now here he is, an officer in the Navy on a warship, and just went through a really difficult time recently. It deployed. So it's how far he's come. I mean, it's amazing. And I just think back and yeah, but it could have been a different story.
It could have been a totally
And
different
that's
story,
where
but
that connection comes in. If we could have, yeah,
getting
if
that
we didn't change,
nurturing.
yeah, if we didn't change our parenting to be connected and relationship first, we would have lost him. He would have just we both would have been reactive. And there's so many kids who have left their families because of reactivity and not understanding the grief
What
or the depression
happens all the
and everything that
time?
goes
And then
with
we
it.
try to
Yeah.
force them into it with
Yeah.
more authoritative
Right.
punishment and control.
It doesn't work.
It's one thing, we need to keep our kids alive. We need to
Mhm.
feed
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
and keep them, from falling out of their crib,
Yeah.
right? Or falling down the stairs and breaking their neck. Like, okay, we need to keep them alive, but we also need to be nurturing them emotionally
Right.
on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And just, kids cry, um, but shushing them,
Right.
and like, I know we're trying to soothe them, but when
Hmm.
we are like, shh, stop crying,
Yeah.
that's really more for us as parents. Well, I'm not a parent, but that's more for
Exactly.
the
But you're
parent
right.
to avoid that negative emotion.
Yeah.
Yes, soothe the child, but the message the child is getting is, don't emote.
Right.
And if you emote this way, you're not going to get my attention. You're not going to get my
Right.
connection, which could, interfere with, like, that could threaten your survival. as a
Mm-hmm.
baby. And it's not like a 6-month-old's going to say, "Oh, mom, my bottom is really feeling sore right
Yeah.
now. I
Yeah.
think I need to be changed." No, they
Right.
cry and they
Right.
wail, right?
Yep.
But if we're not nurturing them um, on a
Yeah.
day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis, not just through touch and holding, but
Mm-hmm.
this whole idea of, oh, kids should be sleeping in their, Dr. Spock stuff from like
Yeah.
the
Right. Oh,
1930s
yeah.
or 40s. Kids should be sleeping in their own room by themselves all night from 6 months on. That's
Mm-hmm.
trauma. That's
Yeah.
why that's why the baby boomers and the Gen
Yeah.
Xers have all that trauma from
Right.
that kind of parenting advice. It's wrong. It's just flat out
Mm-hmm.
wrong.
Right.
So when a baby's
Yeah.
crying, I think we could do a lot better by saying, "I hear you. I'm here with you."
Exactly. And when our toddler's having a tantrum, instead of saying stop it or being embarrassed because you're in a store, go to them and say, I see you're really frustrated. I see you're upset. I'm right here. I'm right here. Let's take
Yeah,
some
it's
breaths together.
frustrating to not get
You
that
know,
toy.
because by naming emotions too, we're increasing their emotional intelligence. And then if we can model that and name our emotions, oh, I'm really frustrated right now. I'm really angry. That's a primal emotion. We're telling kids, put your anger down, push it away, just stop it. Well, then these kids don't know what to do with their
Well,
anger
it's going to
and they
come up
blow
some
up.
other way.
Yep. And that's why I think we have all these kids going out and, shooting up schools or whatever they're doing
Oh,
because they
absolutely.
never learn to process their anger. And that's what we need to teach them. We got to teach them that when they're calm. Okay, when you're angry, these are some things you can do because you got to process that out of your body, not just
Yeah.
pack it down in there. Because
Yeah.
when we're dysregulated, that's what we're acting out of our subconscious. And that's when it all comes out, the worst
Yeah.
of us.
I mean, well, 95% of our, this just happened in
Yeah.
the last episode that I recorded. 95% of our thoughts, feelings, actions, and
Mhm.
behaviors are coming from our subconscious.
Right.
And if we think our 5% conscious mind is going to win out over our 95%
Yeah.
subconscious, which is where all that emotional trauma and physical, but emotional trauma,
Yeah.
big and small, is rooted, that's why it's coming out. And that's why we have a mental health industry. I'm air
Yes.
quoting mental health for those
Mhm.
who can't see me, because it's not a mental cognitive
Right.
problem. It's a subconscious emotional
Mhm.
feeling
Yeah.
issue that is erupting now because it's been so suppressed and ignored and devalued for so long. And
Right.
that's when it comes out in, I've got to ease that pain somehow,
Hmm.
that emotional pain
Yeah.
somehow. So if I'm not processing it, in a healthy, effective way, I'm managing it with drugs and alcohol
Hmm.
and controlling my food or
Yeah.
overeating or but what we also miss is these are the obvious destructive behavior, depression, anxiety. Those
Hmm.
are the obvious destructive behaviors that we try to employ to manage our pain,
Yeah.
emotional pain, but they're also the constructive behaviors
Mhm.
such as overachieving, being the best
Right. Right.
athlete, never being good enough.
Yes.
I'm an endurance athlete, um, like triathlon and
Hmm.
multi-week
Yeah.
backpacking, things like that. And I know it in those communities because I'm still part of
Right.
those communities.
Yeah.
I can pretty much guarantee you that everyone in those communities, that's how they're trying, almost everyone,
Hmm.
99%. It's that overachieving is how they're
Hmm.
trying to process their emotional pain
Yeah.
because it's, if I do this event,
Right. I'll
then
be
I'll be
accepted.
valued.
Yeah.
And this is Olympic sports, this is collegiate sports, this is
Hmm.
professional. It's not 100% because I don't think anything is, but
Hmm.
it's over 95%. I would
Yeah.
say that because if we feel valued, we feel loved.
Right.
And if we feel loved, well, that's a basic need. So anyway, I don't want to go in that.
Yeah. No, yeah, but it's so interesting. Yeah, you're absolutely right though. And just and teaching our kids, yeah, to feel value and not, I mean, yes, because if you're always telling your kid, "Oh, you're absolutely the smartest, you're the best," that's so much pressure on the other end.
It
Exactly.
does. It
Yeah.
does. And again, that's a judgment
Hmm.
that the parent is that you're so smart,
Yeah.
you're so wonderful,
Yeah.
you're so beautiful. That's a judgment.
Mm-hmm.
It's a positive judgment, but it's still a judgment.
Yeah.
So parents, and I know parents' intentions are honorable. Like
Yeah.
they're really trying to do their best. I 100% believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But even though you have the best intentions, doesn't mean it's helping.
Right.
But if we can learn how to not just praise or
Right.
dote or condemn, if we can just acknowledge,
Yes.
whatever feeling they're having, and even better than acknowledgement, validate.
Yes, that's what I was just going to say. Validate. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, validate.
Validating is a
It's the active
whole,
listener.
I think,
Everybody needs that.
everybody
Yeah.
needs that. But
Everybody needs a place to vent.
oh my God, and be heard.
Yeah. And be heard. Yes.
Yeah.
And not told what to do or that they're wrong or judged or shamed,
Right.
but just listen to, you know?
Yeah. And hopefully, I feel like you heard me today.
Yeah, I loved your
Hopefully,
story. That was a great story.
I
Yeah.
mean, hopefully you felt heard today.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And your story was great. I mean, it just goes to show how smart you are that grades absolutely don't, and also you made the right choice in what you did because then were able to do something you really wanted to do. And so, and your parents did, that they still supported you through
They
that.
still
They
support me.
trusted you.
Even though
Yeah,
they didn't agree, they still
yeah,
supported me,
they
So
trusted you. That's a lot.
somehow, yeah, it's funny you say trust because I'm like, I don't know if they did trust me, but they accepted it.
Yeah, yeah,
However that went down, they still accepted it, you
yeah.
know. But even 30, 40 years later,
Mhm.
I still feel it, it's
Right,
still
right.
that
Yeah.
trauma or that experience is still in me,
Right. Yeah. It
you
was
know.
a pivotal moment in your life. Like there's things like that you just never forget. And you can, yeah, remember every
Yeah.
details. Yeah, but it's a great story. And it just goes to show how much more well-rounded you are, that the grades weren't who you are. I mean, they just were a part, but and a lot of things go on in undergrad. I had some bad semesters too. I mean, it's a really
Right.
big learning curve and it's not just classes. You're
Yeah.
on
Well,
your own, you're
life,
out there.
the whole
Yeah.
thing, the whole
Yeah.
thing.
It's
And
a
then being
whole,
a parent, there's a
yeah.
whole nother
Oh,
which I
yeah.
don't have that learning curve.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
try to learn it from others,
Yeah.
I read a lot of parenting books,
Yes, that's good. Yeah,
actually, even though I don't have kids of my own,
right. But it's
but I
interesting.
do read that stuff because there is a lot of insight,
Hmm.
which is yet another reason why. Have you written a book?
No, but I'd really like to write a book, and I have like parts of it. It's really hard to do if you've never done it, and just to get that direction, I think.
We need to talk another
Yeah,
time
yeah,
about that
yeah,
because I'd love to share with you because your
yeah,
book
that'd be
needs to
great.
come out.
Yeah,
Yeah, your
because there's,
stories need to come out.
yeah, and I think in the one about my oldest son too, because we went through a lot, but we came out the other side, and we have a great
Yeah,
relationship and close, and it was strained for everybody. I mean, my whole family was affected by that. My youngest had so many behavior issues because we were so focused on the oldest, and the middle one was so angry because why is this happening? Why is he treating you like this? And why is this not understanding? So there was a lot. And then plus divided my husband and myself. I mean, our relationship was affected because
a
I always
lot of
felt I
stress
was a
there.
mediator, and it's so there was so much going on and you're just trying to fight to keep your family together and the chaos is but like you were talking before, like, people don't learn how to take care of their nervous system. That's just it. Like, and so when we're out of our subconscious, nobody's taught that really. And that's
Well,
the key to
because nobody
everything.
really knows
Oh,
it, by the
right.
way, that it's
Yeah.
really not known, and
Yeah.
it's only been in the last 10 or so years that
Yeah.
neuroscience has come around.
Yeah.
But still, my problem with neuroscience, which I love neuroscience, I'm going
Hmm.
to have a neuroscience on the
That's
podcast
awesome.
in a few weeks. And I love her. She's amazing. But something else that I find a lot, this is like with I'm not gonna pronounce her name. Mayim Bialek, Bialek,
Hmm.
the girl, the woman
Yeah.
from Big Bang
From
Theory,
yes, yes, yes.
who is
I
a
never say her
neuroscientist who
name.
has a great podcast for
Yeah.
sure, but but they're still, in my opinion, they focus so much on the physical elements of the
Mm.
brain.
Hmm.
They're still missing like wholly missing the emotional
Right.
component,
Yeah.
which is why I say, I say, you always hear mind, body,
Hmm.
spirit, right? We're missing the heart, and that's
Yeah.
the emotional element.
Right.
So it's really mind, body, spirit, heart.
Yes.
And those
Yeah.
are the 4 areas of wellness, of health, wellness that I've landed on.
Hmm.
Because without the heart, without the emotional health
Right.
element,
So
it's like driving a car with a flat tire.
Yeah. And if we can teach that emotional intelligence, to our kids, think of how resilient they'll be and how strong they'll be,
Well,
by
it'll
doing
be
that.
amazing to be able
Yeah.
to recognize and manage emotions, which is what
Yes.
emotional intelligence
And
is all
process.
about.
Yeah.
Say again?
And how to process their
And
emotions.
how to process, which is what
Hmm.
emotional intelligence is all about.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is emotional health, which is different,
Right.
where
Okay.
emotional health is our ability to give and receive love and connection.
Hmm. Yes.
Emotional intelligence is recognizing, honoring, processing,
Yes.
managing our emotions.
Mhm.
But if we're not connecting,
Right.
why are we having these emotions in the first place? It's
Right.
usually rooted in a lack of connection, or it's
Yes.
some kind of strain in a relationship.
Yes. And we're wired for connection. I mean, we
Yeah.
need that, and our kids need it, and we need to model that for them. So, yeah, it's so interesting. And that's the whole thing. And just getting that, teaching them, all about that. So
Yeah,
it's so
passing
important.
that on,
Right.
but not even nurturing it
Yeah.
before,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
nurturing it
Uh,
when they're 0 to 6, you know,
yes. Right. Right.
nurturing, honoring those feelings and good and bad, whatever. Um, if
Yes.
we're not if we're not honoring, nurturing those feelings,
Right.
then when the emotions do come up, well, what do I do with it? Well, that's where
Exactly.
emotional intelligence kicks in.
Yes.
But why are we having the emotion in the first place?
Yes. Right.
And that, I think, is rooted in your emotional health,
Yeah, I think so. You're right. Yep. And then connecting with people and having those
which
relationships
is
and,
what's driving
being
it.
able to foster those. Yeah. And yeah,
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah. And you never see classes about that because honestly, people don't know it.
Yeah.
I know they don't know it. I know it's not taught in psychology.
Yeah.
I've
I mean,
talked
I
to
learned
enough
that through my
psychologists.
program. Yeah.
Right. Say again?
But I learned that through my parenting program, but it was because putting relationship first, and then everything else will fall into place. If you can get that relationship intact and connection,
Hmm.
then you can influence your child. You can do all these things.
Right.
If you don't have
Right.
relationship, then you don't have anything. You don't have
Yeah.
mutual respect. You don't have, yeah. I mean, and that's when
Respect,
the
right.
breakdown of
Deep
those
value.
emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that parenting program, which sounds amazing,
Mhm.
that's not widespread. That's like
No, it's not.
you found a program, wow,
Yeah.
that was lucky, but that's not what's in mainstream education. That's
No.
not what's in mainstream mental health or regular physical health or
Right.
counseling. And it's always managing anyway, I'm on a soapbox now,
Yeah,
but
but no, you're right. You're absolutely
it's
right. It's
not
not building
mainstream.
resilience.
Yeah.
Right. And also teaching our kids, like not fixing everything for them when they have an issue, letting them solve it. You'll sit there with them. You've got their back. You'll be through them, but they've got to figure it out. Like I'm not going to fix this. You're going to take care of it, but I'm right here. I'm here with
Yeah.
you. Let's do it. And
Well,
parents, yeah,
and that's why I said at the top about Uchi, and you
right.
said it,
Yeah.
when you feel like someone's got your back,
Yes.
you feel like you can do anything.
Right.
And as a parent, you don't have to know every answer.
No.
And you're not nobody has all the answers.
Nobody knows. No. And it's not
Nobody.
about being perfection. It's not
Never.
possible. But
Right.
it's repairing, it's putting relationship ahead of things.
Supporting.
And yeah. And also like, yeah, about having your back. Yeah. And just
Mhm.
knowing that somebody's there and you're more able to make mistakes because that's how we grow, right? We grow from our
Oh.
mistakes. And
Oh,
you're not afraid to make those mistakes and do that because you know that, okay, you messed up. Maybe my kid messes up. I'm not happy about it, but am I going to shame you and blame you and say you're no, I want you to learn from it. We'll talk about it, but learn from it and grow.
yeah.
And that's what,
And I'm here with you the whole way,
yes, I'm here with you. Right.
the
And
whole
that's the
time.
problem. People don't allow their kids to I don't know, they want to fix it, or they want their child fixed. Fix my kid, but you know
Yeah.
what? We got to fix ourselves first and understand
Wow.
why we react the way we do, because I'm telling you, my nervous system is controlling the house. When I'm upset, the whole house is upset, and that's just,
Right. Well,
that's
it's
it.
contagious. Like emotions are
Right.
contagious.
Exactly. And so we need to get ours under control and understand our emotions and ourself and our emotional health, like you're saying, and relationships, and then we can help them. Yeah, so
Yeah.
important.
Oh my God, we
Yeah.
could go on and on for
I know we
hours.
could go on forever,
I
so
love it.
this
But
is
thank you
fun.
so,
I
I
love
mean,
talking to you.
who knew
Yeah,
where it was going to go, but I think it
yeah,
went to a really cool place.
yeah. It
So
was
thank you
awesome.
so much
Thank
for
you.
being on this episode and sharing your story. I'm going to help you write your book, and
Awesome.
that'll come out at some point, probably
Yeah,
sooner
that'd be
than you
great.
think.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think that wraps up this
sounds
episode of
great.
Question It.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd
So
love to
until,
help. If you'd help me write my book, that would be great. That'd be
oh yeah, I can
fantastic.
help you.
So,
I can help you.
yeah, that'd be
Um,
great.
yeah, yeah, that'll be great.
Sounds
Okay, so
great.
until next time, peace,
Okay.
love, and connect.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.